Learning target number 5 vocabulary, school habits and activities. Grab a whisper phone from the front of the room. Escucha la pronunciación del vocabulario. Repite el vocabulario. Do you sound like me? If not, try again. Copia el vocabulario en tu papel o en un Google Doc. This time we will also be taking some notes, so make sure that you write down that information so that you can look back at it later. Practica el vocabulario y usa el vocabulario. ¿Qué haces en tus clases? ¿Qué haces en tus clases? Repite. ¿Qué haces en tus clases? What do you think it means? What do you do in your classes? Notice that because it has an S on the end, that it's going to mean you. If I wanted to say what does he do in his classes, I would change it to ¿qué hace without the S in sus clases? What does he do in his classes? ¿Qué hace en sus clases? Nosotros tenemos un examen. Nosotros tenemos un examen. Repite. Nosotros tenemos un examen. We have a test or we have an exam. You could also say nosotros tenemos exámenes, and that would say, we have tests. That might be more formed like you would ask it or make a comment in English. ¿Qué debo hacer para ser exitoso? ¿Qué debo hacer? Debo hacer means I should do. Debo is I should. Hacer, to do. So, ¿qué debo hacer para ser exitoso? What should I do to be successful? ¿Qué debo hacer para ser exitoso? Repite. Tú debes poner atención. Tú debes poner atención. You should pay attention. Tú debes poner atención. Aprender. Aprender means to learn. So we're going to learn some quality school habits and activities. So you could use tú debes aprender. Entender. To understand. Entender. Estudiar. Using the phrase from above, tú debes estudiar para ser exitoso. You should study to be successful. Tú debes estudiar para ser exitoso. Tomar apuntes. Tomar apuntes. To take notes. Tomar apuntes. Repite. Usar tu teléfono. Usar tu teléfono. To use your phone. No debes usar tu teléfono durante la clase. Dormir. To sleep. Dormir. Dormir. Llegar a tiempo. Llegar a tiempo. Llegar means to arrive. A tiempo is on time. Debes llegar a tiempo a la clase de español. Now we're going to look at these vocabulary words in context. First, we're going to discuss the difference between saying someone needs to, should, can, or is going to do these actions versus someone does these actions. So when we're saying that someone needs to do something or should do something, we have to remember that that's going to be the first verb that we use, and that's going to relate to the person that we're talking about. So like in our vocabulary list, you should pay attention. Tú debes. So this S, we remember, talks about you. Then the next verb, pay attention, stays with the R, poner atención. Tú debes poner atención. We could use you need to pay attention. Tú necesitas poner atención. The same thing. Notice the first verb ends in an S because it's you, and the next verb continues with the R on the end. The other one that we've done is tienes que. Tú tienes que poner atención. So you might say, tú tienes que poner atención durante la clase de español. Tú tienes que poner atención durante la clase de español. We could even go further. Si quieres sacar notas buenas. Tú tienes que poner atención durante la clase de español si quieres sacar notas buenas. So remember, we have the S on here tells us we're talking about you. And then these are some of the other verbs that we have. So you could also add tú debes estudiar. Tú debes estudiar. Tú necesitas estudiar. Tú tienes que estudiar. Tú tienes que tomar apuntes en la clase de historia. El maestro de historia es muy estricto. Tú tienes que tomar apuntes en la clase, cada clase. Or something like that. Now, I want to point out, remember that this S is on here because it's talking about you. If we were going to talk about someone else, we would have to just get rid of the S. So if I wanted to say he should, if I'm giving advice about someone else, instead of tú debes, then it would change to él or ella, if I'm talking about a girl, debe poner atención. So all of these S's we would just get rid of if we were talking about one person. So remember, if you're telling someone what they should do, they need to do, they have to do, then you are going to take the first verb and put it into the to form. And then our second verb is always going to end in an R. The next thing that we're going to discuss is deciding if someone is doing the action. Instead of saying you need to or he needs to or has to, we're going to say the person does this action. And so I'm going to kind of make a chart so you can see how each of these verbs is going to look. At this point, please pause your video and grab the handout that says on the top of it who is doing the action and has this chart. When you have the paper, come back and finish the video. Now this next part is going to sound super grammar-y, We've already done all of this. We know this, but I want to make sure that you understand how to do these well with the particular verbs that we're using. So we talked about poner when we were doing clothing. Poner literally means to put. So you're putting attention to the teacher. We remember the word is pongo. So if you want to tell someone, yeah, I pay attention in my class, yo pongo atención en mi clase. So yo pongo atención. The only thing that you're having to change here is pongo. Atención is not an action. We're just using it with pongo to say I pay attention. We already know for the rest of these, unless there's a problem, I've starred the issues that might trip us up. If we have our chant, yo, ho, it ends in o. So if you're saying I learn a lot or I don't learn a lot, either way, the verb is going to turn into aprendo. Aprendo means I learn. So yo aprendo mucho en la clase de español, or yo no aprendo mucho en la clase de español. Either way, it's going to end like this. Now I've put a star by entender because it has an irregularity. So this little E is going to make a slight change. Entiendo. Entiendo. This one would be estudio. Yo estudio mucho para mis clases. I take notes. Yo tomo apuntes. Or it can be yo no tomo apuntes. Yo uso mi teléfono. If you're asking a question, you would say, you'd have the you, but mi teléfono. This one is another one that has an issue with it. Duermo. We've been reading about el duerme. This is just making it for myself. And then this one's very easy as well. Yo llego a tiempo. So if someone was saying, tell me, qué haces en tus clases? You could say, pues, yo soy una estudiante muy buena, así que yo pongo atención a la maestra. Yo aprendo mucho y yo entiendo la información. A veces yo estudio, yo tomo apuntes cuando necesito. Nunca uso mi teléfono y nunca duermo. Siempre llega a tiempo. Y we could add one, yo hago mi tarea. We've already used this before. Now remember, for the he and she, we have the chant that is he or she has an A or an E. Typically, all we have to do is mark off the R on our verb. So that's going to tell us if it's an A or an E. Pone atención, aprende or no aprende. The same thing happens that happened in the yo form. Entiende, estudia, toma. I'm running out of time on my video, so I'm having to go quickly. Usa, same change right here. Duerme and llega. So remember, that's if you're talking about someone else, he or she. It can be that pone or no pone atención. Also, remember, if you're using the you form, you just add an S to the end of the he form, that A or the E. I want you to fill this out on your own. You can pause the video. And then also, remember, if you're talking about a bunch of students, like the students don't pay attention or they don't do their homework, you take this form. I'll fill out the ase right here. You take this form and add an N. Now, I do want to mention really quick, if you are going to talk about nosotros, you're going to talk about we. You take the R, you turn it into an M, and then you add OS. I want you to write 3 examples of this. So give me 3 things that you would say in class we blank. I want you to fill those out, and I need you to show these notes to me when you get this filled in.